Hey, what is up YouTube? This is Powerhouse here with another one of my videos, and today we're going to do a follow-up to the Steam tour that we did, the digital tour that we did for my Steam account. We're going to look at my GOG account now, which this one I'm pretty excited for. So the first thing I want to talk about is the GOG Galaxy that I use, and I honestly really love this because, you know, right now you just see the all the games here, but what I like is that, you know, you can see games on the side as well, so you can have your GOG games, your Steam game, your Epic games, and just quickly go through that. So it's pretty awesome. But today, like I said, we're just going to focus on the GOG games and hope you guys enjoy this video. Alright, so some of these games I haven't played, similar to my Steam account. So these games I haven't played. Advent Rising, did a review on that, disappointed in that. Age of Decadence, this game is just wants to give you pain, and it's just hard for the sake of being hard, and it also crashes every 5 seconds. Age of Wonder series, I've played the first one. It was okay. I remember it being pretty difficult. Age of Wonders 3 I definitely should get into. I have this also for Steam as well, and that's one thing you'll notice. Some of these games I have for both Steam and GOG, but it is what it is. Sometimes I accidentally buy a game on Steam or on GOG that I think I didn't have, but I end up having for another, so I end up having 2 copies of the same game. It happens. And Anachronox, I don't know how to say this game, but this is a game that a lot of people have been recommending to me, or not necessarily to me to play, but just every time I look online I hear nothing but praise for this game, and I really need to play it one of these days. Same with the Anno series. I definitely need to get into this. I think people say the 1404 is the best one out of all these, so I should definitely give it a try. Aquanox, I've reviewed the first one. It was decent. I reviewed the second one. It was also decent. Some people really love these games, but they're just okay to me. Arcanum, I've played this. I haven't finished this game just because it's so close. Like it's so zoomed in when you play. There's no way to really zoom out and see everything. So the perspective, the isometric perspective, really ruins the game for me. Or I shouldn't say the isometric perspective, because I play a lot of games in that perspective, but it's more just it's way too close. It's very hard to see anything. But it's a shame because it's pretty awesome mixing magic and steampunk elements. Then I got a ton of Army Men games. I definitely do want to review at least one of them. I was thinking about this one, the RTS game, but who knows. Army Men is definitely a classic series, and it's fallen by the wayside. You don't really hear a lot of people talk about the Army Men games, and I think it's mainly because it's a quantity over quality approach that 3DO took on the series. So there's just a lot of games that are very similar to each other. Ash of Gods, I tried to get into this and I just couldn't. The combat sucks and it's way too story focused for me. Like it goes on forever. The first Assassin's Creed, I had someone recommend me to review the series. I'm not sure if I want to do that yet. It's definitely there. I have it listed, but I'm not sure if or when I'm going to tackle it. Baldur's Gate, classic series. Battle Brothers, I have a ton to say about this game. I'm thinking about doing a full review on it, just because I think the concept is pretty cool, but it's just more frustrating than fun. Even after you get deep into the game and you're pretty successful, it just seems like you go through the same stuff over and over again, and it really loses its charm towards the end of it. Plus, I want to review it with the DLC, but I just can't get the DLC on a good price. It's so freaking expensive, and when it is on sale, it's only like 10% off. So, yeah. Battle Realms, I'll recommend this to me. I haven't installed right now, but I may take a look at this. It definitely is something I want to look at. Battlefield Gothic Armada 2, I definitely need to play that one of these days. Beyond Divinity, disappointment. BlazBlue, that's a good game. The Blitzkrieg series, I tried it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it, but yeah, I've played the Blitzkrieg series. Not much to say. Bound by Flame, I recently tried this and like combat was going on forever. I said screw this, it doesn't feel as good. Caesar games are classic. Caesar 3 I played the hell out of. This is another of the Impression Games games. I think 4 was Tilted Mill, but 3 is 2 and 3 are Impressions games. Very awesome, especially the third game. And just as a fun fact, they're the same people that did make Lords of Magic, and we'll get into that game as I scroll down. Capitalism, baby. Carmageddon, I've talked about the second one. I've played the first one. I've thought about reviewing the third one just to see if it is as bad as people make it out to be. Let me know if it's something you guys would want to see. Chaser, that's another game I reviewed. I've reviewed a lot of games from GOG, but this one I've reviewed, and disappointment. Children of the Nile is like a successor to the Pharaoh series, which the Pharaoh series was also made by Impressions Games. It's in 3D and stuff, but every time I go back to play it, it doesn't hook me as much as the Pharaoh games do, unfortunately. The Commando series is another classic series, but man, they're frustrating as hell. Like, you have to be perfect in execution and moving your guys in the right place. If you mess it up, you're done. The third one is like the easiest, which is the one that I can go back to and actually get through a mission or feel like I can. The first couple is like difficult. They're brutal. That's all I gotta say. Conqueror AD 1086 is a very interesting game. It's almost like if the Mountain Blade series was made for MS-DOS, this is as close as it would be, I would say. Consortium, at this point, I highly even doubt there's going to be another one in the series, so screw this game. The original Crusader Kings, yeah, I'd recommend 3 at this point. I don't want to go too much into this, just go with 3. I got the Cultures games. I think that I also have this for Steam as well. Good games. Daikatana, I've reviewed this already. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be going in, but it's still not a game I'd recommend. Darksiders 3, I've actually tried to play, and I was going to do a review on it, but it just kept crashing for some reason every time I was recording, so I was like, I may tackle this another day. I wasn't having that much fun playing it anyways, but we'll see. Darkstar 1 is definitely a game I want to get into. I heard it's not that good, like it's not that crazy, but I do want to give it a try. I mean, it is a space shooter, like you control with I think it's compatible with a joystick, but basically one of those space games, so I definitely want to give it a try. Defender of the Crown, I think there was a PS2 remake of this game, and I believe I know I have it. I don't know if it was with this, but yeah, basically it's pretty fun. Descent series, that's classic series. Desperados is actually very similar to Commandos, but I haven't played them myself. Deus Ex, classic. Dex is a game I have installed right now, and I definitely want to get into it. I heard that it reminds some people of Deus Ex. It has some cyberpunk vibes to it, so I definitely do want to give it a shot. Diablo, I've played this recently. Some people are still fond of the first game, but I gotta be honest, I think it's been improved in the second one. I mean, think about it. There's a reason why the second game got a remake or remaster, whatever you want to call it, and the first game hasn't gotten anything. Disciples, a pretty fun game. The Dig, I think it's an adventure game. Disciples 2, I couldn't get this to work for some reason. The first one works fine, but the second one I wasn't able to get working on this. Or actually, I think yeah. So first game is I got to work, and the second games I haven't got to work on this machine. However, I do have my XP machine, and that one, it worked fine on that. Sometimes they have these games that just don't work on Windows 10 for some reason, but then on Windows XP, when I install it on there, they work flawlessly. Divine Divinity, classic. Divinity Dragon Commander, I got a lot to say about this one, and I want to review this in the future. Honestly, I want to get back into the Divinity series. This one I want to talk about. Divinity 2, I don't think I'm going to talk about. Every time I try to play, I kind of get bored with it midway, so I don't have a lot to say about this one. Original Sin Enhanced Edition, I've beaten it, and I do want to review this one of these days, so a review is in the works. The Original Sin 2, classic game, great game. Whenever I tackle this, it's going to be a huge freaking review. Right now, I'm almost at the point of finally completing the campaign, so I'm really looking forward to that. Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, I mean, I've beaten this multiple times, this game, and I just keep coming back to it over and over again. I've done a review on it, classic. I love this game. Another pretty solid title, Duke Nukem Manhattan Project. It's really good. I reviewed this one too as well. It's basically, instead of, it goes back to the old school Duke Nukem games where it was a side scroller, and this one came out in the early 2000s, and overall it's pretty good. It's short, it doesn't take up too much time, and it's fun overall, so I really enjoy this one. And then of course you got the original Duke Nukem 3D, which is a classic. Dungeon Keeper series, classic. Dungeon Rats, not a classic. Same people who made Age of the Cadence, and is a far more frustrating game, and linear too. And you got the Elder Scrolls series. They're not all together, they're all over the place. Some, like Battlespire, it was up there, and it's not even in order here either. I'm surprised I don't see, actually no, Daggerfall is over here. But yeah, I've always liked the artwork on some of the older Elder Scrolls games. They look really cool. The newer ones are just like a logo, and it's not as impressive. It's still good. Like, I think it still gets the point across of the game, and I think it still fits thematically, but I kind of like this old, like, kind of metal vibe that these older games had on their artwork. Elix, I'm gonna start a playthrough of this again. I know people have asked me about Gothic, and once we get there, I do have an update on that. But I also do want to talk about Elix as well. I think it'd be interesting to, talk about it. And I have beaten it once already, so I plan on going through this again. Very good game. Empire Earth 1, 2, and the Classic 3. Yeah, we all know there's a Classic. I mean, this is my highest review that I have, so yeah, I don't want to talk about it. This game is trash. They had a spin-off, Empire's Dawn of the Modern World. It's something I've been thinking about reviewing. I feel like this game is a lot easier to get into compared to the first two Empire Earths. So I may talk about this one. We'll see. I do need to get to Empire Earth 2 one of these days, though. That's been in the back burner for years. And we got the original Europa Universalis 1, 2, and 3. I tried to get into 3. The UI of these games is just difficult, honestly. I feel like that's an issue with a lot of Paradox games, but thankfully the newer Crusader Kings 3 is much cleaner UI. Same with Hearts of Iron 4, so at least they're improving the UI, and I do appreciate that. Evil Genius, I've had this currently installed. I'm going through a playthrough of it. It's still pretty fun. There are some frustrating elements of it, but I think it's still pretty fun for what it is. Evolva is pretty good too for what it is. Basically, you have these 4 creatures, and by defeating other creatures, you can take their abilities and add it onto yours. So it's pretty cool, and you can specialize. It's 4 all together, like 4 creatures you control, and you can specialize them all together. So it's actually a very interesting game. Very short, but pretty cool for what it is. And we got Expeditions, Conquistador, and Vikings. Viking I played for a little bit. I kind of got bored with the whole camping mechanic. I think these games are okay for what they are. They're nothing crazy. Expendable I reviewed a long time ago. Whatever. Now, I haven't talked about the artwork really too much, but the Eye of the Beholder series, I mean, I'm never going to play it because these games are old as dirt, but heck, they're older than the skeletons they show here. But man, the artwork is just freaking hardcore and freaking metal, especially this one. Like, this just looks so badass. Same with this too. All 3, honestly, of the Eye of the Beholder games look absolutely freaking badass. Then we got the Fallout series here. I did a tier list of this recently, so you can go check that out on my channel. Far Cry was always like a childhood dream of mine, and then when I finally got it older, I've never played it. I really should give this a shot. I'm not sure if it works on Windows 10, but if not, I'll try it on my Windows XP machine. But I remember seeing commercials for this game, and I was just like, man, I have to have it. But now, so many games have came out. By the time I grabbed it, it's like, oh yeah, remember Far Cry? Field of Glory Empires. I was thinking about doing a review on this game. It's a lot of fun, and I'd recommend to get the Field of Glory 2 with it. Basically, it's a grand strategy game that takes place during the ancient empire, so basically Roman times and all that stuff. The antiquity period, I think, is what it's called. So it's a lot of fun, and I think it rivals a lot of the Paradox games in a way by having its own thing. And the cool thing about having Field of Glory 2 is you can take more direct control in your battle. So when 2 armies face, you can actually play it. It's not like Total War. It's a different kind of battle system, but it's really fun. It's very long, but it's very intense. It's cool with the variety of units. Like if you play as like a Far East nation that has like there's like an Indian nation. I forgot what the name of it is. But if you play as them, they have like elephants and stuff, so you can use like war elephants in battle. So it's pretty cool. And then other places use chariots. So it's very interesting playing with the different unit types. And it's a lot of fun. And like I said, it gives you much more direct control in the combat. The Flat Out series, not too crazy about the first game. I think it's decent. Second one is where I have most of my fun. Freedom Force games, I want to play these like legit one of these days. I've played them before, but I haven't really like played them in such a long time, so I want to see if they still hold up. But from what I remember, they're pretty cool. Gangland, I haven't played this in a while, but I mean it was fun for what it was. I've done a review on this a while ago. Gangsters Organized Crime. Now this game I can possibly do a review on now that I got my XP machine, because on Windows 10 it has issues, but XP perfect, flawless, no issues whatsoever. So maybe I will give this a try and see how it. Maybe I'll review it. I'm playing it now, but I don't know if I'll review it or not. Guru, Mark of the Wolves. I've thought about reviewing this one. Let me know if it's something you guys would be interested in. And the moment you've all been waiting for, we have approached the Gothic series. Good news. I'm able to get these games to work on my Windows XP machine. So I can't get them to work here because I need to patch it or whatever. But I was able to get it working for my Windows XP machine, and from all accounts, I should be able to record it with no issues. So we got that going for us. The thing, though, is when I was playing it, I was having some issues with the mouse sensitivity. It was incredibly low, so I gotta look into that and see what the issue is there. So hopefully one of these days I can finally sit down, play Gothic, review it, and we can talk about it. So there'll be a big powerhouse review for this one. And let's move down to the Guild series, the Guild 1 and 2, very near and dear to my heart. The second one is the first one I've played, and then I went to the first one, and both of these games I love. The problem with the Guild 1 is the fact that it does have some issues with just processing and crashing and stuff. Maybe now thinking about it, I should probably try this on my Windows XP machine. Maybe it'll work better there. But yeah, both of these games were fun. Unfortunately, Guild 3 was lacking for me. Maybe one of these days I'll give the Guild 3 a try again, but until then I got these two, and I love both of these games. These games are awesome. Guilty Gear Asuka, not very good. X2, very good. Anybody want to play Gwent? If 50 Blades of Grey is watching it, I challenge you to a game of Gwent. Hellpoint I've talked about. I got this free on GOG, and actually I've gotten this free on both Steam and GOG. Steam by the developer, and GOG, it was just they were giving it out for free. It's a shame that this game wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. It has a very small dedicated community, very, very small, like almost non-existent community. They came out the woodwork when I talked about this game. So no one's playing this game anyways, so that's all I gotta say. It's disappointing. I thought it had a very interesting premise, being a Souls-like in a dark sci-fi period. I love the aesthetic, but I just think the game needed a lot more polish, and I don't even know what the developers are doing. They keep saying DLC's coming, and nothing has really showed up, so who knows at this point. Heritage of Kings the Settlers. I played this game when I was younger, and I actually did enjoy it, but for some reason it's had very negative reception compared to the other settler games in the series. So I want to revisit this and see, okay, is it really as bad as people are making it out to be? Let me scroll down a bit. We got Heroes of Might and Magic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, we just have up to 5. 3 I really enjoy. I would say 3 is probably my favorite out of all of them. Although 5 is still good. As much, I'm not a big fan of the art style in 5, but I still think it's good. I still recommend 3 or 5. But 3 barely nudges it out for me, just barely. Hostile Waters. I actually had someone ask me to talk about this game, and I'm like, dude, I've already talked about this game. The Eye of the Dragon is a very interesting game because it's like you play as a dragon, and there's not really a lot of games like that. So I'm thinking about doing a review on this one. We got the Icewind Dale series, the regular, enhanced, and 2. From what I understand, there's not going to be an Icewind Dale 2 enhanced edition because they couldn't find the source code. I've played these games a good amount. They're fun for what they are. I'm just not that crazy about the Infinity Engine games anymore, or that engine really too much. So, they don't really appeal to me too much. Imperial Glory is a game I've also wanted to do a review, but this game is just, most of the time it refuses to work, and the other half is it's just not a very good game. So, although it would be interesting because I've done the whole Total War series now. So it would be interesting to talk about this and compare it to, Total War in general, and see what an Empire Total War would have looked like back in the early mid 2000s. Impossible Creatures, man, still fun game, and I really wish that I have an idea with this one. I've reviewed it already, but I have a future video that I want to talk about this game in, so keep on the lookout for that. But it's still fun taking monsters and combining them too. Iron Danger was a disappointment. Jade Empire, I want to actually sit down and play one of these days. Who knows if it's going to hold up age-wise or what's going to happen there. Jagged Alliance 2, definitely I had a lot of people say, like, you know, it's a classic. You always hear, oh, this is a classic. If you like Silent Storm, you know, better try Jagged Alliance too. Um, yeah, it's not for me. I feel like it's a little too old for my taste. But I do like the idea of it. I think the idea of, you know, hiring mercenaries, managing your squad, I think is pretty cool. Very similar to the Sentinels game. But I just feel like Silent Storm is leagues advanced compared to Jagged Alliance 2, unfortunately. Journey to the Savage Planet, I really got sick of the humor in this game. I couldn't play it for very long. It's that annoying Borderlands ass humor. I can't stand it. Kenshi, I tried to play because it sounded very interesting, but you know, it's one of those sandboxes where it's like it's one of those sandboxes where it's like, you know, you really don't need to do anything, so you can stick with the basic stuff and be okay, which is what happened to me. It's like, you know, I didn't really venture too far because I was like, you know, I don't want to get killed, and I stayed safe. So it's kind of a boring game, gotta be honest. The King Arthur series, man, I still go back and play the first one even though it crashes like all the freaking time. But maybe I should try this on my XP machine. Maybe it'll work there, huh? But we got King Arthur Fallen Champions, which I haven't really played, and then we got 2. 2 was definitely a disappointment compared to 1, and it was a shame because 1 had a lot that is set for the base to use, but unfortunately the second game really didn't take advantage and just stripped down a lot of features. The second game's easier, it's just not as fun, unfortunately. King of Dragon Pass Classic, I've talked about this recently in some awesome 90s games to look at, the second video, or first, I think it was the second video. So yeah, definitely recommend this game to take a look at. The King of Fighters 2002, but this ain't a limited match though. Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've talked about this game at length, and it's a disappointment. This game could have been awesome. It could have been the fully fledged medieval RPG that we've all been waiting for, and it just disappointed just because on a technical level and some really poor design decisions. And we got the Legacy of Kain series. There's a lot of games within the series. I've been thinking about going back into Soul Reaver 1 and maybe 2 just to see if they still hold up. I remember Soul Reaver on the PlayStation was like a classic, but on the PC, I remember I played the demo for the PC and it ran so much better. It actually was a pretty interesting game for the time, but I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it nowadays. It's almost forgotten, which is weird because I remember this was all over the place. The Legend of Grimrock 1 and 2. I've been wanting to get into these games, but just need to find the time to do so. We got Lionheart Legacy of the Crusader. Disappointment, man. I reviewed this a long time ago. I really wanted this game to be awesome because it has such a great premise. I mean, it's basically an alternate history with all these historical figures. I mean, you got Leonardo da Vinci, you have Machiavelli, you have Shakespeare, like all these people interacting with them and seeing, you know, how they all fit in the world. And it's a shame that it starts out so strong and it just ends so poorly. And it really is a shame of how quickly downhill it goes. All right, let's get down to Lords of Magic. I reviewed this classic game. I still recommend it. I'm gonna start up a playthrough of Earth, and I'm curious how that's gonna work. I have this installed on my XP machine, and I'm gonna see if I can beat it as Earth on my XP machine. I did a custom game where I added a bunch of I basically did, I think it was I did the wizard, the Earth wizard, and I added 2 longbowmen and a shambler. So I'm like, okay, I think we have an interesting start here. The first Mafia, I haven't played the remake. This is just the original. I think it was really fun for the time, and I really liked the theme and just driving around, like, you know, the time period and all that stuff with the Tommy gun and the shotgun weapons you can find. But unfortunately, I don't think it holds up as well as I hoped it did, which is a shame. But I still do, you know, free ride every once in a while just to see how it is. But the main missions, not really my thing. Your Majesty. Yeah, I played this. It's pretty interesting for what it is. You basically hold like a realm or a city, whatever, and you place buildings, you hire different heroes, and you don't really directly control them, but you can influence them in different ways. So it's interesting the way things play out. Man of War Corsair, I have this also for Steam. I think I talked about this, so we'll move on. I got the Master of Orion series. I've been thinking about I've played the remake, and I thought it was fine. Like, I actually enjoyed the remake for what it was. the reception is pretty low, but I was like, hey, I've had a pretty good time with it. Yeah, it's pretty dumbed down, like in terms of it's not the most complicated 4X game out there, but for someone who doesn't really play a lot of 4X games, I think this is perfect for that. You can definitely get your foot in the door and go forward. I mean, it's a better game than Master of Orion 3 from what I understand. So, although Master of Orion 3, I've been thinking about doing a review on it. Let me know if it's something you want to see. So scrolling down, we have made it to the Might and Magic series, and this is a classic series spanning 10 games now. But most people just say after 8 there's really no reason to play. And I've been thinking of doing a review on Day of the Destroyer. I have it currently installed and I've actually gotten pretty far into it. So I definitely do want to do a review on it. I have a good amount of video that I've recorded. So I do, like I said, I do one day want to review Might and Magic 8 because it's fun as hell. Moto Racer, classic. I don't know if I want to do the rest of the series just because I haven't heard good things about these. I've played 2 and it was alright for what it was. I haven't played 3. I know a lot of people say 3 sucks. No Man's Sky, more like it's alright. Yeah, I did a video a long time ago just saying like if it still sucks, and some people got pretty offended by it. But I would say it's really improved since then, and honestly it's pretty freaking good. Some of the issues I think still remain with the inventory, and you know, it's pretty grindy overall. So I think some of the core issues still lie, but for the most part it's a far better game and far more complete than it ever was on launch, and I think what anyone has ever envisioned. So I definitely have a lot of fun with No Man's Sky nowadays compared to, you know, back in the day. Outcast, I've tried to give both of these games a try, I just couldn't. Outward, I've recently played. I'm not sure if I want to do a review of it. I have a lot of it recorded, but I don't know if I want to review it. And then we get to the legendary Pharaoh game. There's recently they did a remake of this. I don't know if it was a remake or a remaster, but they recently did that, so that's interesting. But I mean, the classic is still playable and still fun. Love the theme, love the colors, love everything about this game. Really fun. Got Planescape Torment, regular, and which one? Oh, this one's enhanced. This is the regular one. Classic. Populous. I've played Populous the beginning and I'm thinking about doing a review on it. Project Eden. This game is freaking awesome. I have it for the PlayStation 2 and I played it on there, and it's pretty cool when everyone, you know, controls a character and they're moving around trying to solve problems. So it's really cool. It's honestly a very underrated game, I would say, and you don't really see games like this. I think there was one other game that was like this, but there wasn't much that's like this. But it's basically, you know, you have a squad of 4 people. Each of them are special in other things, and you have to use them in order to solve problems and get through the level. So it's very puzzle-like, but it's actually pretty fun. It could be difficult though. The Railroad Tycoon series, or 2 and 3. We got Red Faction. We got Risen 3. I don't have all the Risen games. This was the only one I have, and I've never actually sat down to play it. I've heard mixed things about the Risen series. I haven't heard that great things, so that's kind of why I haven't really pursued it. Roller Coaster Tycoon series, classic. Silent Storm, I've already reviewed this and talked about it, classic. Scrolling down, we got the Serious Sam series. I got the first encounter and the second encounter. I think they have the rest on GOG. I just haven't bought it. And here are the rest of the Settler games that I was talking about. I know the second one is considered the classic, or at least the one that gets like the most respect. But let me know if you guys want me to look at the Settlers games. I haven't really played them too much, so let me know. Shadow Watch, I recently beat this. I think last year, like either beginning of this year or sometime last year. But the art style of this game is amazing. It's fantastic. I love the comic book art style it has. Reminds me of the old Men in Black cartoon, if anyone remembers that. But basically, you play as a squad of people. A lot of squad games, I know. You pick a squad, you pick your teammates, you have them go through the mission. You control them throughout the mission, you know, depending. You get to also pick like what they do, the kind of mission they get into. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. So a lot of fun. It's also it randomizes every time. So every time you play, it's like your start is different. Everything is always different. So it's a lot of fun. Very short though. Scrolling down, now we're into the Sid Meier's games, or at least some of them. Alpha Centauri, classic. Colonialization, haven't played it. Covert Action, pretty good for what it is. Sid Meier's Railroads, haven't played it. Sid Meier 6. I think Signal Ops is actually the game I was talking about. That's very similar to Project Eden. I think this is it, but I'm not sure. Then we got some of the SimCity games. We got SimCity 2000 classic, SimCity 3000 classic, SimCity 4 classic, Soul Saga. Let's not talk about this game anymore. And you already know, if you've seen my the Steam, you know there's gonna be a ton of freaking Star Wars games. Most of them are on the Steam, but I do have some here that weren't available there. Episode 1 Racer. I couldn't get this game to work on this machine, but I'm able to get it on my XP machine, no problem. 1080p, classic. Star Wars Battlegrounds, Galactic Battlegrounds Saga, classic. Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, recently gone through this, and classic. Mysteries of the Sith, classic. Rogue Squadron 3D, classic. They all classics, man, and they're good old games too. Now we got the Star Wars series. I've played the first one, and I wasn't that good in it, or I got a decent amount, but then it's like I just started to suck. 2 I haven't played, 3 I haven't played, but man, I don't know if I'd do a whole review on them. I don't know. Startopia, classic. They did a sequel to it, and unfortunately it didn't live up to expectations. I think I talked about it before. It was on my Steam account, so I think I talked about it before. Stronghold Crusaders. I do plan on reviewing these games one day, so definitely be on a lookout for them. I think I may just start with Stronghold HD and then go to Crusader and Crusader 2, so keep an eye out for them. And we scroll down, we got Syndicate games, which are still pretty fun. System Shock, which I haven't played it. I still think it's the games are a little overrated. I think I just have it for here, yeah. I think these games are a little overrated, unfortunately. That's just how I feel. Technomancer, sound like a weird name, but I heard it's not as bad as people think it is. Like, I've heard it's actually pretty good, but we'll see. The Thea games, there will be a review on these games. I do plan on reviewing these games one of these days. I definitely want to start with Thea 1 and then move on to 2, because I have a lot to say about both of these games. Theme Hospital, classic. Theme Park, I have actually not played this yet. Then we move on to the Thief series, and they're all classics. 1, 2, and 3 is pretty good. 3, a lot of people say feels slower, but honestly, I think 3 is still fun. I think it gets a lot more hate than it deserves. Yeah, it may not be the same engine as the first 2, but it doesn't make it bad. I think the second game is probably the best if we're talking about all 4 games. I think it's just 4, yeah. I would say the second one is probably the best, but 3 is still pretty good. Then we go to the Ghost Recon, some of the Tom Clancy games. We got Ghost Recon, we got Rainbow Six, we got Splinter Cell. I've been thinking about talking about Splinter Cell again, maybe a review just to see if it holds up, because I don't really think anything's happening with the Splinter Cell series. Who knows at this point? Then we got the 2 World series. I'm not sure how to feel about these games. I mean, I've heard mixed things about it. Some people say they're all right. Some people say they kind of suck. So it's been a mixed bag from what I've heard. Then we move on to the UFO series, which I think gets a lot more hate than it deserves. I've played all 3 of them. Afterlight, I would say, is probably the best out of all of them. Maybe. Or maybe Aftershock. I think they're not as good as the XCOM series, but they are all solid attempts. UFO Aftermath is probably the worst, though, just because of how difficult it is and the spikes and stuff. I think Aftermath is the worst. Aftershock and Afterlight are pretty good, I would say. Aftershock goes on a little too long, but it's still pretty good. Afterlight, I think, is unique, being like a Mars colony and all that stuff. Once you beat these games, I really don't feel the need to play them again. And we got the Ultima series, which I haven't really dove into too much. I've played 4 a little bit, but I haven't really, dove into it. I've played 9 a little bit too, just for ha-has. If you guys want me to review 9 just to see, like, oh, is it really as bad as people make it out to be? I definitely can do that. And we got Unreal Gold Tournament 2004, which is really fun. The first tournament, which is also really fun too. Uplink, which is a game I reviewed and still pretty fun, I would say. Vambrace Cold Soul, I just got this game for the artwork. That was it. I heard this game isn't very good, but it has very good artwork, so I got it. Fire Warrior, it's unfortunately as bad as Mandalore has made it out to be. That was a damn shame. Mechanicus, let me know if this is something you guys want me to review. I mentioned this in my Mech Armada, but let me know if this is something you want me to review, because I definitely do have a lot to say about it. But I feel like it has been covered enough, so maybe not. Same with Mark of Chaos, because it has some very similar elements to Total War, at least when it comes to its battles. So let me know if you want me to talk about that as well. Wasteland 1 and 2. The second one I've played for a decent amount, and something about the combat is just off for me. But maybe I'll give it a second chance. I don't know. Way the Samurai 4. It's a pretty good game. It's not my favorite of the series. My favorite is 2, just because of Sayo, and that whole storyline is amazing. But 4 is pretty decent. It's a little too silly and corny for me at times. I also find it to be a little too difficult for its own good. But, you know, it's still fun. There's a lot to do compared to the other 3 games, so I can still recommend it. Then we got the Wing Commander games. I'm not sure if I'd ever I mean, I did play Privateer recently, and it's still fun, although it can definitely use for like an HD remake or something, just to improve the graphics and whatnot, because it uses DOSBox, and you know, DOS has its, you know, UI issues and all that stuff compared to modern UIs, but it's still surprisingly fun, and it's very ambitious for the time. We got the Witcher series 1, 2, and 3. Let me know if you guys want me to review the series. And then we got the X games. 3 is obviously the one I've played. I haven't played 1 and 2, but from what I understand, there's really no point. You should just stick with 3. But I do definitely want to give 4 a shot. Xenonauts, very similar to XCOM. It's okay. 13, classic. And that's really it for the GOG side of things. But I decided, you know, let's go a little bit above and beyond today. And let's talk about some games on Epic. Troy, I've done a review on this. Alien Isolation, I have yet to play it. Maybe one of these days. A lot of these games on Epic Store I got for free, like Daemon X Machina, City Skylines, Galactic Civilization 3, Godfall I got for free as well. It's funny. It's like you got Godfall, God's Will Fall. So I think I'm just gonna rush through it, just because there's not really a lot to talk about here, and I was like, there's not really a lot I can do for a separate video. Hand of Fate 2, I actually did want to play. I actually did play, and I'm so disappointed by the combat, because I just feel like the Hand of Fate games could be so much better if the combat was actually freaking good. And yeah, that's it for these games, because most of these, like I said, I haven't really played them. It's just more collecting, and that's it. So once again, another surprise. Let's move on to Origin. And here, not much really to talk about. Dragon Age Inquisition, I played the hell out of for a while, but I've never actually beat it, because the game just goes on for way too long. And yes, I do have FIFA and Madden. I prefer the older Maddens, but FIFA 21 I think is not as bad as people make it out to be. But Madden 21, I get quickly bored with this game. Andromeda, disappointment. I don't think it's as bad as many people make it out to be, but it's definitely not very good. It falls short of the original trilogy. I've done a review on this as well. Need for Speed, disappointment. Sims Medieval was pretty good for what it was. I did a review as well. So I think this game is still worth playing. Sims 2 I haven't played in forever, and Sims 3 I haven't really played in forever as well. And then Fallen Order I've done a review on. And for the last thing, we are going to move on to Ubisoft. Not Ubisoft, Ubisoft. We on that Ubi. No, I don't know if it's Ubisoft or Ubisoft. Maybe if we get an official press conference or something, maybe they'll say it. So this is where a couple of the Assassin's Creed games are. They got 3, Odyssey. Odyssey I think I have installed, but I've actually never like played it. It's like I want to play it and get deep into it, but I just haven't. Primal I've played. I wasn't that crazy about. For Honor I've played the hell out of at one point, and I just don't anymore, because I just kind of stopped. Might and Magic 8X Legacy, disappointment. I've done a Let's Play of Rainbow Six 3 Gold, and you know, I could also talk about Chaos Theory as well if it's something you guys want me to see. But that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour and the bit of bonuses. Definitely in the future there will be some reviews, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching as always, and this is Powerhouse signing off.